A very good morning to you. My name is David Batsoffen, and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things, he says, holding up the branded items. My guests today are not in the travel game, though. They are in television, and they are husband and wife duo, Tiffany and Johnny Barbuzano. Guys, welcome. How are you? It's an important day in your lives today.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the last day of our series. Episode 13 is going out tonight.
So
we're excited and sad.
I'm sure you are. And the series that we're going to be chatting about is Still Breathing. And the reason that I wanted to talk to you is, for me personally, there are probably a handful of TV series. And in fact, I tried to jot some down this morning before we started speaking. And I could only come up with two others aside from yours that has made me so emotional. Back in the 1980s, there was a series called Wise Guy with Kevin Carl, I think his surname, Kevin Wall. And that series made me cry for all sorts of reasons. Then along came This Is Us, that beat me with an emotional stick from episode 1. And then I saw Still Breathing, and I saw all the hype around it. And I thought, really, Mnet, you have a habit of pumping things, and then you watch it and you're disappointed. So I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't read any of the blurb. But I thought, let me give episode 1. What's the worst that can happen is I've wasted 48 minutes of my life. And I sobbed. And from episode 1, you guys grabbed both myself and my wife on every level. And that's difficult for me because I know half of your cast. They're friends, yourselves included. So it's difficult being taken to a place emotionally by somebody you know. So how have you managed to do that, guys? I'm not going to address questions you can to each of you unless we get specific, but you can take them as you wish. So how have you done this? How have you managed to tap into emotionality so quickly and so consistently in this series?
I'm looking at you.
Oh, and I'm looking at you.
And I'm looking at both of you. Say something.
Yeah, I'm really looking at you. So, I always say to people when they say, where did the idea come from? There's one thing that's certain in life, and unfortunately for all of us, especially now, it's loss, right?
Yeah.
You will, at some stage in your life, lose someone that's incredibly important to you. So it's a universal thing that no matter where you come from, if you live in Mexico, if you live in Santon, if you live in Antigua, if you live, wherever you live, you're going to experience that. So I think the theme of our show, and that of loss and coming to terms with the loss and people grieving or traveling a road of grief, I think is the thing that hooks people because everyone has experienced that. David, I can't tell you how many DMs I get from people that just go, thank you so much for showing this part of the grieving process. Thank you so much for highlighting that this can happen, that you don't have to cry all the time. People have really, I think that's the thing, people have really hooked into the fact that we just told the story about people who've lost something that they love so desperately and how that affects the rest of their lives.
How long?
I think also, sorry, in our initial pitch as well, I think the one thing that we haven't seen on television a lot lately is our lives projected on screen. So you've got all your other channels kind of speak to another language, to another place, but there isn't anything that shows the parks where we live and where we've grown up. And so our big pitch was to show ourselves on screen and getting an audience that went, I know those people and I know who that person is and that person's my neighbor and I'm related to that person. So I think that was a key for us when we were writing it. So obviously grief was the main theme within the series. But I think as an overall thing where Still Breathing goes, if we go season 2, season 3, season 4, it's about reflecting the lives of people, regular people living in the parks.
Yeah.
And it's who we are. It comes back to the thing of write what you know, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is exactly it. You know, we've had this discussion when I first started watching the series and I called you guys, is that there is a certain demographic, and I want to say Marius Veyers, but that would be disrespectful to Marius. You know, if they're looking for an overseas South African to play a baddie, it's Marius Veyers. And there's a certain accent, the policeman, and there's a certain accent that goes with it. And you haven't done that. And it's such a breath of fresh air, guys. You have no idea how I sit. And I'm getting emotional as I'm talking to you. I can feel it welling up. So if I burst into tears, it's your fault. But I've cried on air before and I don't care. But what you guys have done is you disregarded that stereotype. And you've gone for real South Africans, because not everybody talks that in that stereotypical voice. In fact, very few people do. So your characters are of a certain demographic, as you say, Johnny. They're from the parks, and they speak in a certain manner, and they live in a certain style. What was it like as a collaboration between the two of you? And not only you two, you got your kids involved as well.
I think that was one of the first things, like when we first started conceptualizing and writing and storylining and stuff like that. I wasn't sure which character I wanted to play, actually. I didn't know if I wanted to be Jess or if I wanted to be Abby.
Right.
And then when the reality kind of set in that when we shoot, we'd have to be away a lot of the time from our kids, a shoot 9-10 weeks.
Yeah.
It didn't sit right as a mom that I would be away from them for that long, especially, they're 5 and 8. So they're at like an important part of their lives when mom and dad need to be around as much as possible. And then I realized, like, I've got the most wonderful gift in front of me. 2 children who love the camera, 2 children that we can spend time with, 2 children that we can introduce to the world that Johnny and I work in. And let's see if it works. And obviously then the first thing I thought about was asking them, because we did ask, would you guys be interested in doing it? We didn't just Kris Jenner them and throw them in and make money from them. Yeah, and it just worked out so beautifully. I feel like we've experienced something really special as a family. And I think that also, you can read that on camera. Obviously, half the work is done. We don't have to foster relationships with weird child stars. I am the mom, and he is the dad.
Yeah. But then how was it when Brandon Orette, who plays your on-screen husband, now steps into Johnny's role? Did they know Brandon before?
They did.
Okay.
Not very well, but they've met him before. We've known Brandon for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I think what's lovely about Brandon is that he's got his own daughter. So he also she
popped up in an episode.
The show a little bit. She came for like one day and then
she forced her way into it, and
Genius.
then we were like, hold on,
genius,
this girl's going to be a star, and she will be a star.
She will.
Remember this.
She will. She absolutely will.
Good
so then he would bring her to set, and they would play with each other in between takes and in between scenes, etc., etc. And he just, I think, through that was able to foster a relationship with the boys, and he's a dad. So
because Brandon's a scary looking character. And for once, you haven't got him playing a policeman, because that seems to be his go-to role. So what did you do? You make him a husband. You make him a wannabe restaurateur. You make him a plumber. But then you throw in the fact that he works for CPL on the side. So you've kept a sliver of his police person presence in the background.
Yeah.
Exactly that. He's your everyday hero, but he's like, it's like most fathers. I think you get to an age when you have children, like children our age, 5, 8 at the moment,
right?
And you feel like the biggest fool. You can't say anything right. You can't dress right. You're uncool. You don't know the right names. You are a fool. You spend your whole life.
Yeah.
You're unwoke.
Exactly.
You're not even. You're sleeping.
Yeah.
There's no woke in work. You spend your whole life trying to be cool and court these little people's moms, and surely you were cool enough to court the mother to get her to be their mother.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no. And that's what I loved about Brandon. Like, Brandon slipped into, I'll never forget, it's like, because we basically wrote our relationship on screen, but obviously a little bit of a heightened version of who we are as people.
Right.
And I kept saying to Brandon, it's like, I know this character. And it's like, this character has to wear plaid shirts because I wear plaid shirts. And the one day he just turned to me and he says, don't worry, dude, I've got this. I've got you. I've seen you. I've watched you. I know what to do. And it's like, and he was amazing in the role, I think.
But it's also very much him. I think when I was writing it, the process of casting, I keep saying that this was a magical, universally distant project, because the process of casting, when we were writing the show, I find it easier to write with actors in mind, the people who are going to play the characters. It's just, I guess it's the acting background. So I can hear their voices in my head as they talking and I'm writing it on the page. And so we, like our first pitch document, if we had to show it to you, all the people that we wanted in this show playing roles are playing the roles. Brandon wasn't even in the industry at that stage. He'd left because he'd had enough. And he was off doing something else in the middle of the Northern Cape or wherever he was. And then phoned us like 3 weeks before we were starting the casting process and said, if the offer's still open and you'd still like me to audition, I'm in. And we were like, what? That's ridiculous. And so, so him and Kate and Shannon and Nandi and Dorothy and Siv from the very beginning, I said, I want Siv and Ngesi. And everybody was like, well, Siv hasn't done that much. He's more a presenter. Is he really an actor? And I was like, just give him a chance. The guy has got something in him. Just give him a chance. And he's honestly blown me away. I think he has done magnificent work in the show.
He's been okay.
Yeah, he's been okay. Yeah, he's adequate in the role. What can I say?
You got to keep him honest.
He looks good in scrubs. That's all you needed to do.
Listen, he looks good without scrubs too, but that's not what I'm
talking about that. I have to take my hat off to Shannon for jumping into a pool. I don't think that water was warm, or was it?
It was.
It was. Thank goodness. We shot it last year, October, November. So it was. In fact, people were saying, like, do you need us in the pool with her? Because we're happy to hang around in the pool with her. No, it was hot. She was good. She was fine.
I've done late night shoots in the middle of winter in Delta Park, where you have to be in water, and it's not nice. Sundry body parts freeze that you didn't know could freeze.
Oh yeah, I've been down that. We did a film where we broke a Guinness World Record called Shotgun Garfunkel, and we shot it from script to screen in 10 days. Wow. And one of the scenes was to jump into a swimming pool at, what was the school? Westridge on Westcliff. In the middle of May, I think the water was -4 degrees or -5 degrees. And guess who had to jump in? So that was life-changing. That was amazing.
Johnny, what is it like to direct your wife, given the fact that she's written the script?
She's impossible.
I know where you're sleeping this evening. Our guest bedroom, just as a matter of interest, has been sanitized, and there is a separate entrance.
I'll be there. You'll hear a knock on your door by the end of this. I mean, we work together like I think what we've developed is Tiffany has taken the mantle of writing. I take the mantle of directing. Tiffany takes the mantle of casting or the detail. Like, I think we complement each other in different things. The things I don't like, I love writing, but it takes me a year to write an episode. And I'll go and I'll pull my hair out and I'll toss and turn and I go through the worst trauma to write a script. I love writing a script, but my body doesn't. Okay. Tiffany can open up a laptop and by 12 o'clock, she's making lunch for the kids and she's got a 44-page dissertation in front of you. It's like she's got that ability. Tiffany can't do maths, so we do the accounting and the budget that way. Tiffany can't do, so I think I'm almost like the beginning person. I'll spark an idea. Then Tiffany will go, no, hold on, I know to make it better. Then it frustrates me because she did make it better. Then I go, no, I'm going to write the script and this is what needs to be in. And then she watches me go through the pain knowing I'm not going to write the script. Then she writes the script in the morning, hands it back to me, and then I take over for the rest of the process. And I'm the guy who finishes and will sit and watch the episode 20 times to make sure that there isn't a booming shot or whatever it might be. So I think the process is almost like when I direct her, I don't direct her. I think we've almost gone in sync where I think we're co-directors, ironically. And stuff that I'll miss, she'll pull actors aside and she'll give them the note. And then I don't even know that it's been done, but she's done the work. So it's like, in a funny way, it's like I do think we co-direct, even though I've got the director's mantle, we co-direct. And the same thing with writing. It's like, even though she's done all the writing, she's written every episode, like there's a lot of thought and there's a lot, I've taken it and I've done a script edit on it. And I've done, I sew the final little bits, but she does all the finessing stuff. And
but
then she gets the back.
I have to take my hat off to you, Tiffany. Most of these series where you've got 13 episodes, even 6-episode series, international series, they've got 3-4 directors. Not everybody directs everything, and not everybody writes everything. They've got a writing room with probably 20 script writers. You've only got to look at like Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up comedy, one man on stage, and he's got 3 or 4 script writers that work with him, type of thing. And
so, and we did.
Sorry, John.
We had in the beginning. We had a writers' room with Alison, with Tsepo, and Sasha. And it was a great writing, and Kabomo as well. And we had a fabulous writing team in the beginning. And we love working like that. We also, because we come from a theatre background, and we love improvisation, and we love that kind of working method. But I think it just got to a point where it was so personal and so close to Tiffany's real life story that, without taking away from those writers who are brilliant and were brilliant in the room and helped the story and got us to where we were, there was only one person who understood how to finish it. And I think that's the choice that we made. But I think moving forward with another series, like, you want a writer, the bigger your writer's room, the better. The more ideas you can throw at you and the more you can throw away and put in. And that's why they become so tight. And I think, like, they add a lot of value to a room. And we would like to explore that again moving forward.
Now, Johnny, Johnny alluded to the fact that this is quite close to your life story. The thing with, let's look at Michelle Maxwell's character, for instance, the Alzheimer's there. Have you been party to this, or was this just a story arc that you thought would tap into the emotion of the viewers and I should imagine the people on set? Michelle is stunning in this role. I mean, I've gone into goosebumps and I'm wearing a jersey.
You know, I took like little filaments of certain experiences in my own life that not necessarily, my mom doesn't have dementia or Alzheimer's, but my gran had dementia.
Okay.
So there were, and it wasn't this specific kind of dementia. Like I didn't want to, I know that in This Is Us, I think I haven't watched This Is Us because I didn't want it to influence
me. The mother in that gets a form of early onset dementia.
Okay.
We're at that part in this current series.
Okay, so my grand's was later on in life, and we're not sure if it was Alzheimer's or dementia because she's never really diagnosed, but I mean, she was at the end stages of her life, so we didn't need to diagnose anything. It was just very sad. So I took a filament of that and then placed it within the mother-daughter relationship to like explore that. Like what we really wanted to do was explore different generations and how different generations experience things differently. I think we were very successful with that. Like my mom and dad, for example, all of their friends watch it because of the older generation story. And my nieces watch it because of Tegan and Matthew and that generation's story. And then all of our friends and people like yourself, our contemporaries, watch it for our generation's story. So I think we've also been...
We just want to see what Sean Taylor's going to get up to every episode. That's all.
So do we.
Yeah, we still
just on that, because it's the only thing, and this is so minor, and it's only because I know the actor playing the character, and that's Michael Richards. Why did you call him Colin? He's not a Colin. I'm sorry.
He's not a Colin. No, he's not a Colin.
He's not a Colin. Tiffany, I'm going to disagree with you on this. You could have left him at Michael because he's a Michael.
No. He is Michael. He's only
that's only because you know him as Michael. I mean that character. People on social media are just in awe of that character, just as a dad and a husband and a caregiver and there's lots of elements of my dad in that character. Someone who's just so I keep calling him the Mr. Miyagi character of the show because you don't have to tell him anything. He just knows.
But How come you didn't write the rest of his family into this? I mean, you've got his wife, you've got his children, who can all act. They could have done walk-on parts, you know.
There's stuff coming, if stuff comes.
Yeah.
No,
I think the great thing about Tiffany, the way it's been set up, is that it hasn't just been set up with season 1. It's been set up with season 2, possibly season 3. Like, everyone's got stories, and the cast don't even know where their stories are going to go to. But we already know, like, the seeds have already been set. And
that's wonderful.
At
least you guys are not like Game of Thrones, where they killed off lead characters willy-nilly without even being aware. Well, you've only killed one so far, really. And you killed
Depends how well the actors behave. If the actors misbehave, we just...
all of a sudden, where's my character doesn't seem to have any lines. No, you died in the toilet. We don't see you dying, and you just never come back.
Sad.
In Isidinga, when I used to work at Isidinga, the worst thing was to go to Cape Town.
Yeah.
It's like, if you read that your character was going to Cape Town, that was dead now. It was done.
You're done.
I'd rather die. There's more chance of coming back in Isidinga by dying than going to Cape Town.
It was like that ridiculous season of Dallas, where they wrote Patrick Duffy out of it. Then they realized that he was like a pivotal character. So the whole season it was a dream sequence with him in the shower. And the stupidity was that people believed it.
Yeah.
They also, I seem to remember Miss Ellie and her husband, whatever his name was, the one actor I think
Larry
died
Hagman.
and the other one was sick. And they just changed the actor. The character remained the same. The actor was different. And nobody, hang on a second, who the hell is this?
I love it.
And gave rise to every telenovela and every melodrama that we love watching today.
Exactly.
That was the beginning of it all.
The little bit of trivia that came out of that, and then we'll come back to Still Breathing, season 1. I'm going to keep referring to it, is The Graduate. If you remember, the movie poster was a pair of legs, akimbo, and then I think it was Dustin Hoffman looking through them. Now, those legs belong to Linda Gray, who was one of the characters in Dallas.
No way.
Oh, wow.
They were her legs. Who knew?
Well, nice.
So next time,
now we do.
Next time you have that question, would you like to phone a friend? You can say, no, we know they were Linda Gray's legs. David told me.
Our luck, that is.
Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. And I'll go, oh, what was her name? What was her name?
Larry Hagman.
Yes.
Have you found, just talking about Larry Hagman, he was meant to, when Dallas was still on, he was meant to come to South Africa on a press junket. But there were people who threatened to kill him. Because back in those days, they believed that he was the nasty character, that he was a hitman, that he was a rubbish. And there were people who threatened to go to ORT, or Jan Smuts as it was in those days, and shoot him on the tarmac because they didn't want him here. So the segue from that into your series is, are there any bad guys who are now being recognized in supermarkets, even behind their masks, and people are coming up and going, I don't like your character, you're not a very nice person,
Well, yeah, certainly for Shannon and her role as Candace, she's had a little bit of negative feedback. Yes, like, how can you do this? And how could you sleep with your best friend's husband, etc., etc. So, yeah, she's definitely felt the ire of, especially on social media. I mean, Twitter's like, everyone's got an opinion, right? It's easy just to tell people what you think. So she definitely...
But everyone loves a bad girl as well. So because you get hate, doesn't mean they hate your character. They hate the character, not what you're doing.
Yeah,
I think the other funny one is casting Brendan Polycut as Trent as essentially the worst person in our series because he did the worst thing. But it's like the sweetest human being you could possibly cast as a villain.
Yeah.
Is he related to Dave, the musician?
Yeah, his son.
His son.
Yeah, because if I remember, Dave wrote the theme song for Carte Blanche.
That's right. Yeah.
And Shaka Zulu as well.
And Shaka Zulu, yeah. Because that's the beauty. You look at surnames and you go, I know. It's like Steve. I mean, you can see Danny in that boy.
100%.
100%. And I can see Danny at that age playing that role.
Yeah.
I could also see Matthew Mulholland if he was an actor playing that character. Very
absolutely. Yeah. And then Garion is Ashley Dowds' son.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Sean's daughter,
Tegan.
Jane
Pretz, yeah.
Okay, so now where has she popped up from? I don't think I've seen her before.
She comes from Cape Town. She's in everything at the moment. Like literally, you cannot switch on Showmax at the moment.
Yeah,
and
without Jane.
There isn't a single local show without her in it. Yeah. She's just she's just risen in a very short space of time. Yeah.
Now,
gorgeous. She's lovely.
Yeah, she is. She's lovely, and she plays the character so well. Have there been issues around the language with young people using bad language on set? And I don't know if it's been when your children have been on set.
It's usually our children.
What do you mean, like the
swear words and that type of thing?
Oh, when Jessica's saying shit.
Yeah. Not only them, but when I'm saying when the older actors are using 4-letter words. Are your children on set? And I suppose, hey, listen, they're showbiz children. It's an adjective.
Yeah, you know what I think? I think times have changed a little bit in that it's a lot more. It's used a lot more colloquially than it was before.
Yeah.
Bad parent-splaining.
No, I don't think it is. I think the bigger you make the issue, the more they're going to do it.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Both of the kids have used that 4-letter word in very applicable and very good sentence structure, I must tell you. I was very impressed with how they used the word.
And emotionally correct as well.
And emotionally correct.
Wow.
When Jamie was 3, asked me for the effing blankets.
To pass him the effing blanket.
Fair enough. And
you gave him the effing blanket.
And you gave him the effing blanket. Did you give him a gold star on his forehead? For getting
I gave him the effing blanket. That's what he wants.
I think, the more you make an issue, the more you make an issue of something, the more they're going to do it because they're testing boundaries. So,
correct.
Yeah, they know that we've said to them that the people who use those words a lot, mean they don't have a very good grasp of the English language, which means they have to study harder. So they don't. They don't do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And the violence, like the scene between you and Brandon when he pushed you into the sink.
They weren't there.
Okay.
Nowhere near. Yeah.
And I think it was purposely written in that way that they weren't in the room.
Yeah.
Because I think as a parent, I don't think you can come back if you've got little eyes looking up at you. I don't think you can come back from a moment like that with your kids.
And those sort of
didn't even know
moments.
They didn't know it was going to happen.
As long as you knew it was going to happen, I didn't want it to be a surprise for you.
I knew. No, I knew. They didn't know. We just said that they had a fight, and character-wise, that's what happened.
Yeah. And then from a set point of view, I mean, you're shooting a lot in houses, which means it's close work. It's multiple angles, which I should imagine means long days. I don't know how many cameras you're shooting with. The only dramas I've ever done, we've shot single cam, maybe 2 cameras, and then you've got to change angles for every single shot. The worst is people sitting around a dinner table. Oh my goodness.
Horrible.
7 hours later.
Yeah.
Just have one camera and do this.
Yeah. That's why I think Hill Street Blues worked so well. You just run a still cam through everything. Or drones now.
When I got into the industry right in the beginning, my mentors in the beginning in TV after theatre were Roberta Durant and Gray Hoffman.
Right.
And there was one thing that will always stick with me for the rest of my life from Gray Hoffman, where he called it the breathing camera. So it's the idea if you were an audience member and you were sitting in the room, where would you want to stand and to watch? And he had the breathing camera, which allowed, it almost felt like the audience was sitting and breathing within the scene.
Okay.
As a person who comes from theatre, and Barney Simon was my hero when I was in theatre, and it's like that's where I come from. Like as real as possible, as improv as possible, and then to be given a breathing camera, it's like this is down to a T. It was almost like full circle for me.
I think that's also, Johnny, what makes for question for both of you, that is also what makes this series work, is because you as the viewer feel there is no fourth wall, to use a theatre term. We're in, and we're emotionally involved, and we're emotionally we have paid our dues to come and sit on your set and be entertained in whatever manner, be it emotional, be it anger, be it recognition, because all of a sudden we go, oh, so that's what happened the night of the wedding. And the other one that was so well done, and it was so subtle, was Michael picking up the for sale sign. That was literally just a few frames, and you sort of went, I know what's coming. And you didn't need to explain it. There didn't need to be words, and it works. How? Oh, hello. Come on.
You didn't think that was happening.
Yeah.
Oh, Zoom, gotta go.
What?
Oh, look, it's the effing Zoom.
Yes.
Exactly. I think also what we wanted to do is, Johnny and I very much love character-driven stories. Like we get high concept stories with hijackings and buildings being blown up. We love those too. But the thing that really we love watching is character-driven stuff where you can emotionally go on a journey with characters. And so we wanted to make low concept things happen to our characters that blow their world apart, because that's how we live our life.
Yeah.
So low concept, for example, is, help me out here.
There's no sugar.
There's no sugar,
but
no
coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
there's no coffee. There's no concept.
Yeah. There's no mayo in our show. So the no mayo thing, no mayonnaise at home, was like a foil, I guess, for what's actually going on emotionally with the characters. So the issue is not the mayonnaise. The fact that there's no mayonnaise isn't the issue. The issue is they haven't told the kids yet that their uncle has passed away. Yeah. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And for us, that's reality. You don't have these big dramatic scenes where people sit and the violin plays and you talk about how Uncle Fred's face was smashed into the glass. You don't do that. The issue is the mayonnaise in that moment. And
I think part of the going beyond the writing, the making of, I think in South Africa, because our budgets are lower than everything else, we can moan about the fact that we don't have money, or you can take the advantage of not having money. So if you're doing a Netflix show or anything in LA or in America, you'll shoot every single angle. You'll shoot the wide, the mid, the MCU, the close-up reverse. You'll shoot like 20 shots, so that by the time you get to edits and the broadcaster say, I don't like the scene, you can recut it in 300 different ways and it will be perfect in 300 different ways. So our advantage is we don't have time. We're shooting 10 to 15 minutes a day. And so my feeling is, you can't get it wrong and you can't stop. So it harks back to our theater days. It's like you've got an audience sitting in front of you, and if you mess up your lines or if you feel like it's not, you cannot stop. And there's such a beauty in that, because when the actor is like, now you're alive, now you have to finish until the director says cut. And I think that's where good performance, in the reality of how we shoot in this country or do things in this country, I think it's such a liberating thing. And I think it gives you better performance by exploring and exploiting that. And our writing allows it, and it's the way we work as TV makers, whatever.
What was the most difficult area to shoot in? Was it the restaurant?
The restaurant was hard because it was the old gentleman's toilet by Kippy's in the Market Theatre.
I love the fact that there are going to be urinals in a restaurant. I lived in Noport for the longest time, for a year. Many years ago, in a different when I was in a different workspace, and they had cigarette troughs in the bar. So when the people finished smoking, they just drop it in the sand. But those people in Noport, when they got fruit drunk, there was no time to go to the toilet. You just took it out and you weed in the cigarette in the sand. So I can get the urinals.
We also loved it because he's a non-practicing plumber. So the fact that there's urinals in his restaurant,
But it was loud. Sound-wise, it was an absolute nightmare.
And during that time, it rained incessantly.
So you
It
got
was
the
that
noise.
time last year that it rained. It did not stop even for 3 seconds. It just rained and rained and rained and rained. And I mean, like, if we had a huge, big budget, like Johnny says, we would have called it and then started shooting again when the rain, 2 weeks that we had was over. But we didn't have that luxury. We just, oh my word, it rained.
Must have driven your sound guy mad.
Nuts.
Because you can't stop. Sound guys like doing that. They'll hear stuff and they'll go obvious, and you go, no, I can't, obvious or not. We can just hit record.
You're not allowed to stop. If you're a sound person and the sound's bad, you're not allowed to say cut on my set as well. I'm sorry, it's the way that it is.
We'll do something, and we'll ADR it, or we will.
My best is, don't worry, I won't use it. And inevitably, it always gets used. And the poor sound guy.
How long did you shoot for?
9 weeks.
9.5.
9.5 weeks.
And then hey, hang on a second. They turned that into a movie, didn't they? With Mickey Rourke.
They did.
Yeah.
And then the edit process?
Edit process it was supposed to be finished a lot sooner, but it literally finished last week. So we took it down to the wire because we were on episode 7 when lockdown started.
Okay.
So we weren't able to go in and out. So it slowed the whole process down. But ironically, it gave us time just to kind of put it all together and finish it.
And then so actually from start to finish, the cast didn't really, well, they did. They've had to keep a secret for quite a while as to what's going to happen in tonight's episode. And
they don't know.
Because I phoned all your cast members that I know going, tell me what happens to... No, I'm only kidding. I wouldn't do that.
They don't know, which is the best thing. So
only 2 people know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
tonight.
exactly.
And that's you two.
Yes.
No, and
don't tell them.
Oh,
no.
So the episode 13, most of the cast only got 20 pages of a 42-page script. So there's 12 pages or 22 pages 12 pages that they haven't got. So our cast has got no idea how the series ends. Idea.
Okay, so let me put this out there. The go-to scene, did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, love it.
Didn't understand it.
So the go-to scene in Game of Thrones was the Red Wedding. Okay?
Yes.
Nobody saw that coming. Least of all, the majority of the viewers. Now, I know that there's a wedding planned because it's been in the trailer. I'm hoping that everybody that arrives leaves of their own accord. That's not a question. I'm just putting it out there.
A statement.
It's a statement, yes.
Use it, don't use it.
We'll talk about this once we've finished talking on live.
Exactly.
So, because I could well imagine, if you look at these reality TV shows that shoot at the beginning of the year, it only comes out at the end of the year, and the winner then has to keep the secret for the entire year. It can't be easy when you're sitting on a cliffhanger of an ending. What was I watching the other day that ended in such a way that I sort of went, what the hell have you just done? Because there isn't another series planned, to the best of my knowledge. It's an internet, I think it was something on Netflix. And now, as I brought it up, I thought, I'm never going to remember what it was. But it was such a cliffhanger that, hang on a second. It was like sliding doors. There was a choice that they had to make of one person or another. And that's how the series ended. They kept cutting back and forth, the lead character looking at or looking at A or B. And that was how it ended. So I had no idea. Pardon?
They didn't show you the choice that he made?
No.
Or she made?
No.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
It's like, what the hell just happened there? Like,
we didn't watch episode 9, and you didn't watch episode 9, and there's one more.
Yeah, exactly. There's one more.
There's 10 episodes, David.
And my subscription lapsed.
Yeah.
So you're hopefully working. You alluded to it earlier, and I should imagine it depends on the numbers. Season 2, season 3. I don't want to say ad nauseum because that's disrespectful. But I mean, this has legs because you can take it. You can follow like This Is Us does. every episode will follow a character. And then there'll be episodes where all the characters are involved, and then an episode where it's only one of the children or a parent or something like that. And you can do the same here, I should imagine.
Yeah. And people can come in as well. It's like exactly what you were saying about Michael. Like there's families still to be explored coming into the series as well.
Yeah.
It's like, again, like we created a world within the parks, and anything can come and anything can leave and anyone can die. And at the end of the day, the theme is still breathing. So as long as there's still one person breathing, you still got a show. And that's kind of the design of it, I think.
And whoever the house that Sean lives in, is that one home or is it several that you're shooting sort of interiors of?
One.
It's a beautiful home.
Big home.
In Westcliff. It's like going to Hogwarts. It's the only way I can describe it.
Is it a Sir Herbert Baker house?
Yes, it's a Herbert Baker. Yeah, it is. It's the whole the designer from
the lady who used to own Wizards.
Yes, still does.
Yeah,
the clothing store Wizards.
Yeah.
She runs a clothing store from inside the house now, and they bought that house. It's phenomenal. You could do Downton Abbey in that house, and it would be perfect.
And every time you open a door, there's like another wing and another staircase, and then a hidden stair. It's magnificent. We had lots of fun at that place.
What has been the toughest for you, shoot-wise, and maybe for you, Tiffany, as a writer, character-wise? How edgy do you need your characters to be? How far do you push them?
I think for me, there has to be some basis for me in reality in order to push a character to a certain point.
Right.
Like I remember we'd written the scripts and there was a stage where the broadcaster felt like they needed to be more high stakes. Because I mean, this genre hasn't really been seen that much on South African TV.
Yeah.
Like we've been fed a certain genre, a certain type of show for a very long time. So that's what our audiences are used to. Like I was talking about the low concept and the high concept earlier. Like our audiences, the broadcasters love a telenovela because they spend money and they know people. If you put the right stars with the right high concept storylines, people are going to watch it because that's what they're used to. So the broadcast at one stage wanted us to change our story in a certain way. And I tried, I really did. I went 6 episodes in of re-storylining it. And the one day I just came to Johnny and I was in tears. I cried. I don't think I've cried that much over work ever in my life. I was in tears the whole day. And I just kept saying to him, this isn't right because it's not true. It's not based in reality. How they want us to change the show is not based in anything real. I can't do it. And then we eventually went back to them and said, we can't do it. Unless we can do it this way, we can't do it. And they were like, oh, okay, that's fine. Then do it that way then. So we put ourselves through
all of that for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you can push your characters to any point which is true to them, as long as it's believable for the characters that we've grown. You know.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, or did I get lost?
No, it
my
does.
Own voice.
No, not at all. That does answer the question. And now, this evening, Thursday, what is it, the 21st, we say goodbye to all the characters for Still Breathing Season 1. I don't want to ask what we can expect, but what I do want to ask, because I don't know whether I'm going to watch it tonight. I may record it and watch it tomorrow. Because it gives me something to look forward to, Tiffany.
And you just run the AR live.
Yeah,
though.
Just put your TV on. You don't have to watch it. Just put your TV on.
Get everyone to put it on to 101 at 8 o'clock until 9:30, depending on how long it goes for.
Yeah.
And just so we can get the AR and then do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Then we can watch it again. So let's go back to the final shoot day. How emotional was it on set when Johnny called cut for the last time?
Well, he was so sweet. They let me call cut. Well, they let me. They called cut, and then I said it's a wrap. I was gifted with that very special moment. Yeah, it's 3 years of a culmination of lots of hard work, lots of tears, lots of cathartic experiences. Like I still feel my sister's very strongly involved in it. I very much believe that she has a hand in it. The feather in the logo and the feather that Abby finds throughout the show, those are my messages from my sister. She sends me feathers all the time.
Okay.
There's a lot like my close family and friends. There's a lot of my life in that show. So little things like fish paste toast, for example, and French toast. That's very much my family.
Okay.
There's pictures of me and my sister on the walls in Colin and Helen's house. I don't know if you remember those shots. I wanted to use this as a time to kind of immortalize her in film, really, because she was an important part of my life. And there's definitely elements of her in some of the characters. Jess's fiery nature is my sister to a T. Like her daughters, my nieces, one's called Abby, Cassidy and Jordan. They often phone and go like, wow, in that moment where you lost your beep, that was my mom. And I'd be like, yes, that was exactly your mom. I needed to channel her in those moments.
Is there going to be a behind the scenes sort of mini series on the making of, or something like that? That would explain something like this, Tiffany, to people who didn't know about your sister.
Like we had great promos and great like the behind the scenes that was done by Jack and company
Gareth.
Gareth.
We'll get back to the company's name.
Bruce and Jay.
No. And Gareth.
Yes. They did it behind the scenes, but I think in retrospect, again, like you rush through all of this and you get through it, and by the time you get to it, it's almost like going through a wedding and you go, hold on, but we didn't have a videographer to record, and now we don't know what our wedding was like. And I think you learn these, like for the next time we do it, we will do it behind the scenes, because I think there's so much magic that I think is worth putting out there for people to watch. We tick that box for the next time we do it. We know what to do.
Great stuff. Guys, I'm going to say thank you very much for chatting to me on such an emotional day. I'm going to say thank you for the emotional ride that Still Breathing has brought, not only to me, but to the majority of South Africans that I've spoken to. And when I posted stuff on Facebook, the feedback was almost instantaneous and without exception positive. So here's holding thumbs for season 2. Once lockdown, the post-lockdown Still Breathing. And I wish you guys all the very best for this evening. And if I do watch it tonight, I will phone you teary-eyed. And if I watch it tomorrow morning, I'll phone you teary-eyed tomorrow morning. Johnny, Tiffany, thank you so much for chatting to me here on In Conversation With.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.